It was life or death on the field in Cincinnati. Had nothing to do with the score between the Bills and the Bengals. It had everything to do with Bills defender Damar Hamlin making a tackle that resulted in a sudden cardiac arrest. Trainers and medics on the field within 30 seconds, delivering CPR compressions and delivering shocks with an AED, much like this one. Now, we're going to set this aside. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But first, let's talk about CPR. With us this afternoon to help understand what this is, how it works, et cetera, this is Sussex County Paramedic Lori Bradley. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. So CPR it's not a new thing, but explain to me what it is.
So basically CPR is doing compressions on a chest to circulate the blood volume and circulate the oxygen that is stored in the blood until help arrives and hopefully we can get a perfusing rhythm back.
So the heart has stopped.
The heart has stopped.
So the blood's not flowing.
So the blood's not flowing. So with the positioning of our hands over top of the heart doing compressions, it's going to create circulation so the blood will circulate through the body and deliver the oxygen.
How hard is this to learn?
It is not hard at all. It just takes a couple minutes to learn and just get in there and do it.
Okay, so our patient has gone down. Friend of mine, they're not breathing. I can't find a pulse. Okay. I'm going to do CPR. Show me what you do.
So the first thing you're going to do is check for a pulse to make sure that you have a pulse on the carotid, no more than 10 seconds. If you don't feel a pulse, they're not breathing or they have ineffective breathing by gasping, things like that, you want to place your hands between
the two nipples,
the center of the chest, right below the nipple line, heel of your hand.
Heel of my hand.
Put this one on top of it.
Okay.
Do deep, hard compressions. You want to compress the chest an inch and a half to 2 inches, and you want to do at least 100 to 120 compressions a minute.
So don't worry about the breaths?
Don't worry about the breaths because we are circulating the oxygen that is attached to the blood as we're doing the compressions.
Okay, so this one clicks to show me I've been deep enough, right?
I don't believe so.
No, it doesn't. Okay. So how do I know how am I going to get 100 per minute?
So to yourself, you can sing or hum the song "Staying Alive."
Because that'll get
that'll get you 100 to 120 beats per minute.
So and we need to go deep.
Yes, at least an inch and a half to 2 inches deep on the chest wall.
Because that's going to pump the blood through the heart.
Pump the blood through the heart.
Through
yes.
the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and I've seen people that are doing this just with their arms.
So you want to make sure that your elbows are locked.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're as close to the body as you can to give yourself more leverage and just do the compressions.
And do the waist?
Yes, from the waist down.
Can I hurt them?
No, you're not going to hurt them at all. If we don't do compressions, it's going to hurt them more than if we don't do compressions.
So kill them if we don't.
Right.
Okay. So why do you think it is that bystanders are so afraid to try?
They're afraid they're going to hurt someone, or they're afraid that they're going to not do it correctly.
Right.
So just get on the chest and get it done.
Even incorrectly
is better than nothing.
Paramedic Lori Bradley, thank you so much for showing us how to do this. We're going to talk about the AED here in just a second with Paramedic Sharon Weil. Don't go anywhere. DelmarvaLife will get back in just a little bit now.
Well, perhaps you've seen an AED hanging on the wall where you work or at your child's school, maybe even at your church. And you've hoped that if needed, someone knows what to do. Well, that someone can be you because it's not that hard to operate this piece of equipment and maybe save someone's life. And with us this afternoon is Paramedic Sharon Weil. She is with Sussex County and joins us with an AED. It's really a very simple piece of equipment, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's very simple.
Before we get to how to use it, why is an AED important?
What it does is it sends an electrical shock to a heart rhythm that is a lethal rhythm, where it will, the heart is not pumping effectively and blood is not circulating and there is no pulse. What it does is it sends an electrical charge to the heart and hopefully takes it out of that rhythm and puts it into a normal rhythm that produces a pulse and will circulate the blood.
So if somebody, passes out at work and they don't have a pulse, you go ahead and go for the AED?
Yes. The goal of an AED is to get there within the first 3 minutes of a cardiac arrest. If 911 is called, the national average response is 8 minutes. So after 4 to 6 minutes with no interventions, there is a good possibility of having an irreversible brain or tissue damage.
Right, right.
So you want to get help as soon as possible, and as I just said, it's 8 minutes typically for EMS to arrive.
So every single second counts.
Yes, it does.
All right. So you have this actually already set up. When we open up where our AED is, we have the machine, but we also have these. What are these?
Electrodes.
Electrodes.
Yes.
And how do we know where to put them?
There are pictures on each electrode. There are 2 of them. One goes in the upper right chest here, and the other one goes into the lower left lateral chest. And there, like I said, there's a picture on each one. The gray part is where you would apply the electrode.
Okay.
And you want to make sure that you're applying it directly to the skin and not to the clothing.
Okay.
So you need to expose the chest.
Okay, very important. Okay, so then what? What do we do with the machine?
So you turn the machine on and it will warm up.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is it is reading the rhythm that the heart is in. There are up to 20 different.
Connect electrodes.
So it's giving you voice prompts, and in fact, for the visually impaired, there's also visual prompts too.
Oh, okay.
Connect electrodes. Analyzing now. Stand clear.
So it's telling us to stand clear because if you shake the patient, then that can simulate one of the rhythms that it's reading, that it needs a shock.
Oh, okay.
And you don't want to shock somebody if they don't need a shock.
And it's preparing to shock.
It's
That's what it
preparing
says.
to
Stand
shock.
clear. Push shock button.
So all you have to do is push the button and the shock is delivered.
Okay.
And you'll
Start
see the patient
CPR.
jump. It doesn't actually do it now. And then it instructs you to start CPR. And it will let you do CPR for 2 minutes. Which is the standard, is what we do between interventions is 2 minutes of CPR. And then it will reanalyze the rhythm and have us stand clear and
do it again.
do
So
the
you
same
would
thing.
leave these on as
Yes.
you're doing the CPR.
yes, you can put your
Okay.
hands right over the top of them.
So it has a countdown clock and everything.
Yes.
It tells you every single step and how to do it.
Some of them even have a metronome so that every time it clicks, you should be pushing down and doing the CPR. So you're doing it in the right correct rate,
Right,
which
right.
is 100 to 100 times a minute.
So you don't have to, they're saying you.
Yeah, you might be too fast or too slow.
Yeah,
Some of the
yeah.
machines even have that metronome.
Well, that's interesting. And
Yes.
this right here and the CPR would be enough to keep the
save-
person
yes.
alive until.
In fact, they can even get that perfusing rhythm back before we even get there.
So yeah.
Yes.
All right. So there is no excuse for anyone
No,
to
you
not
shouldn't be afraid of it.
be afraid
No.
of this. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
And AEDs are everywhere. Shopping malls, airports,
Yeah.
churches, schools.
Well, Sharon, thank you so much. It's
You're
so
very
important we
welcome.
all know this, and now you know Paramedic Sharon. Well, thank you for all you do, and thank you for being here this
Thank you
afternoon.
so much.